Exodus chapter 12. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron while they were in the land of Egypt, saying, This month will mark the beginning of months for you. It will be the first month of the year for you. Speak to the entire assembly of Israel, saying, On the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, 1 lamb per household. However, if a household is too small for a whole lamb, then he and his nearest neighbor should obtain one according to the number of people and how much they can eat. You shall make your count for the lamb based on what each person will eat. Your lamb must be without blemish, a year-old male. You may take it from the sheep or the goats. Keep it until the 14th day of this month, and then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall slaughter it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 side posts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. They shall eat the meat that night, roasted over the fire. With unleavened bread and bitter herbs they shall eat it. Do not eat it raw or boiled in water, but roast it over the fire, with its head, its legs, and its inner parts. Do not leave any of it until morning. Anything that is left until morning you shall burn in the fire. This is how you shall eat it, with your belt fastened, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. You shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on this night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. Against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you live. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day is to be a memorial for you. You are to celebrate it as a feast to the Lord. Throughout your generations you are to celebrate it as an eternal ordinance. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, but on the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. For whoever eats anything leavened from the first day to the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you shall hold a sacred assembly, and on the 7th day there shall be a sacred assembly. No work at all shall be done on them, except what must be eaten by every person, that alone may be prepared by you. You shall also observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread, for on this very day I brought your hosts out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as a permanent ordinance. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. For 7 days no leaven shall be found in your houses, since whoever eats what is leavened, that person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he is a stranger or a native of the land. You shall not eat anything leavened. In all your dwellings you shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go and take for yourselves lambs according to your families, and slaughter the Passover lamb. You shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and apply some of the blood that is in the basin to the lintel and the 2 doorposts. And none of you shall go outside the door of his house until morning. For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. You shall observe this event as an ordinance for you and for your children forever. When you enter the land which the Lord will give you, just as he has promised, you shall observe this rite. When your children ask you, What does this rite mean to you? You shall say, It is a Passover sacrifice to the Lord who passed over the houses of the sons of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians, but spared our homes. And the people bowed low and worshipped. Then the sons of Israel went and did so, just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. Now it happened at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. Pharaoh got up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was no home where there was not someone dead. Then he called for Moses and Aaron at night and said, Get up, get out from among my people, both you and the sons of Israel, and go, worship the Lord, as you have said. Take both your flocks and your herds, just as you have said, and go, and bless me also. The Egyptians also urged the people to send them out of the land in haste, for they said, "We will all be dead." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, with their kneading bowls bound up in their clothes on their shoulders. Now the sons of Israel had done according to the word of Moses, for they had requested items from the Egyptians, such as silver and gold jewelry, and clothing. And the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have their request. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. Now the sons of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. A mixed multitude also went up with them, along with flocks, herds, and a very large number of livestock. And they baked the dough which they had brought out of Egypt into cakes of unleavened bread. For it had not become leavened, since they were driven out of Egypt, and could not delay, nor had they prepared provisions for themselves. Now the time that the sons of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. And at the end of 430 years, on that very day, all the hosts of the Lord left the land of Egypt. It is a night to be observed for the Lord when he brought them out from the land of Egypt. This night is for the Lord, to be observed by all the sons of Israel throughout their generations. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the ordinance of the Passover, no foreigner is to eat of it. But every man's slave purchased with money, after you have circumcised him, then he may eat of it. A sojourner or a hired servant shall not eat of it. It is to be eaten in a single house. You are not to bring forth any of the flesh outside of the house, nor are you to break any bone of it. All the congregation of Israel are to celebrate this. But if a stranger resides with you and celebrates the Passover to the Lord, all his males are to be circumcised, and then he shall come near to celebrate it, and he shall be like a native of the land. But no uncircumcised person may eat of it. The same law shall apply to the native as well as to the stranger who resides among you." So all the sons of Israel did exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. And on that same day the Lord brought the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their hosts.